Welcome, 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 everybody, to our weekly live stream. Um, and hello from Minnesota, Stephanie. Blaine, how's it going? From La Paz, Cindy coming in, Kai coming in. Thank you very much for joining us. A shout out to you guys. Um, Today I'm doing my what I always do is I follow up on my videos that I do, and then we can get into any kind of discussion or any questions you may have about Mexico, or if you want to just chat. That's what we are here for. Hey, Gringos are us. How's it going? Um, Real quick, I want to clarify some stuff because I always get, even after I did this video, I get some misunderstandings, and everybody, first of all, it's either one or two reactions to my videos. Is either, especially when I call out a YouTuber or I call out expat services, it's not to put them down. It's not to, and then someone just made a long comment. I hid them from YouTube, and I'm sorry if I hid you, but I told you I don't put up with that kind of stuff. But it was a very insulting comment saying that I should mind my own, not mind my own business, but say why I should create some useful content. This is useful content. It's important content for you guys to know what's going on. And the thing about the dollar app is that I did videos about the dollar app. They said, why don't you just let it go? Do your video about the dollar app. I did. And I actually did a video a long time ago about the dollar app when it came out. And this individual said, well, you should have just let it go from there. And I did. But the problem is we have influencers. That one influencer decided after all of that to keep going. And we have several YouTubers that were promoting this. And it's not to put another YouTuber down. Now, I do realize that YouTubers get up there and try to put each other down, to try to fight, to be more credible. One wants to, I have better information than the other. But you got to remember, like I've said, a lot of these people make money off of this. If I were making money off of this, I'd want you to watch only my channel. And that's why I would be putting other YouTubers down. I have no ulterior motive in putting anybody down. All I want to do is make sure you guys know. And then they said, who are you, the internet police? Well, guess what? I worked 30 years in financial crimes. Federal law enforcement, a good portion of that in financial crimes. I've seen victims of identity theft, victims of financial crimes, and I don't want people to end up like that. So who made me the internet police or the YouTube police? I did. So if you have some problems with that, I'm sorry. I can't apologize for that. And the other thing is you need to understand my background. I've been in public service all my life. Hey, Anna, how's it going? Jack Walsh, welcome, Jack. And I've been in law enforcement for a long time, and someone made a comment, I left that one up, about unless I want to be CoffeeZilla. I don't want to be CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla is a famous YouTuber that exposes YouTube scams, and I don't want to be CoffeeZilla. I put out regular videos. Lately, I've been the videos I catch a lot of flack for are my safety videos. Whenever I call out other YouTubers, and immigration videos when immigration starts deporting people or whatever, and I try to tell people. But this all comes down to, like I said, hearing what you want to hear instead of hearing what you need to hear. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. As a matter of fact, I have a video that's coming out. I have a video right now that's coming back. That's coming out about a new fintech app, sort of like the dollar app minus the cryptocurrency. Now it's an app that I'm going to give it a fair shake because it's just come out, but there's some dangers and risks involved in using these apps. Especially fintech companies. Fintech companies come and go. This is a startup. And what scares me about this particular company, they're working on investment capital right now. So we have to see them succeed before we can say, hey, use them like wise. I'm not saying that they're gonna fail. What I am saying is that, hey, hey, Jay Gomez, how's it going? But I'm not saying that they are going to fail, but I'm going to tell people, look, if you're going to risk it or you're going to use this, there's a lot of misleading information on this website. I didn't find any derogatory information on the companies like I did with the Dollar app being used, the bank being used, but there's some misunderstandings about FDI insurance and all of that stuff. And they're also reaching out. The thing that concerns me the most is they're trying to do like the Dollar app. They're reaching out to influence. I've already been contacted by several influencers that have asked me what I think, and they're already trying to get influencers to push this online bank, which I'm going to be doing a video about. But I'm not here. I'm here to give you the information. I'm not here to tell you not to use it, but I'm here to tell you the risks. Unfortunately, some people even asked me on my last video about the Dollar app. Says I still use it. I use it to just pay small bills. I never put more than $200 on it. It's exactly what I said. Don't be willing to put more than you're willing to lose. The problem with some of these fintech, they offer a credit card, a secured credit card, but you have to maintain that balance to have that credit limit. So if you say, okay, I'm going to put $2,000 so I can have $2,000 on this credit card, if the app goes bankrupt tomorrow, you lose your $2,000 that was there. And for some people, maybe for me, maybe for other people, or maybe for some people, I can't say for myself, I wouldn't like to lose $2,000, but maybe for some people, $2,000 is not a lot. Maybe for other people, it's their life savings. So that's what's very important. And if a YouTuber's involved or whatever it might be, and I need to call them out, if you influencers start to promote this app, I'm not going to call anybody out because this app seems to have good intentions, seems to operate a lot like Wise, but you got to remember they're a startup. Startups work off of venture capital. What happens when that venture capital runs out? If they're not turning a profit, they fail. And it's something that I'm very familiar with. I've been in the financial investigator realm for many years. I worked with FinCEN. I worked with our financial unit in DC. So I'm very familiar with these types of startups. So I'm going to do a video about that. It's about educating you guys. And that's why I'm trying to tell you is that I do videos that are useful with information that you need to know so you can make a decision. Because maybe you want to use this app, but then you say, hey, we're not putting more than $1,000, or we're not transferring, or you know what, I only transfer $1,000 a month and we'll use it. And if we lose it, okay. I'm okay with that, but it's pretty efficient, whatever. Let's try it out with $50 or $100 or $200. And if you like it, that's fine. But also you go into that decision, making that decision, having the right information. So when you lose that $1,000, I already knew I could lose it. So I'm not gonna put my life savings into it, or you know what, let's try it. But if we lose it, Ernie already told us that we could lose it. So that's my point in doing these types of videos. And I don't need to defend myself, but what I am trying to do is let the community know this isn't about defending myself neither. Whether I get views, whether I get clicks, whether I become famous, it has nothing to do with that. My views lately have been nothing over 1,000 views. I don't make any money off of this. 1,000 views equals a couple of dollars. But here's my point. If I get 600 views on this last video, that's 600 people that I reached about the Dollar app. That's 600 less people that can be victims of the Dollar app. Okay. And it's 600 people. The problem that I see a lot of times with people moving to Mexico is they take advice from somebody on Facebook, on YouTube, telling them that not to worry, you're going to be just fine. And the problem is I'll tell you, there's another YouTuber. They reached one of my viewers brought it to their attention. They lost their van. They lost their van and it was confiscated. It was a mobile van that they built and they were living in. They went to Cancun. They went to La Paz, and somebody told them, you don't need a tip. Don't worry about it. You're going to be in Cancun. You're exempt from the tip, and you're going to be in Cabo, or you're going to go to La Paz and Cabo. You don't need a tip. But what nobody told them, and I've already went over this in a previous live stream, but what nobody told them, and everybody told them, don't worry about it. You're good. You don't need a tip. But they didn't totally do their research, because they were coming from Louisiana. And from Louisiana to get to Cancun, you need a tip, because in those areas you need a tip. Once you get to Cancun, you don't need a tip, but you need a tip to get there. As a matter of fact, they drove from Cancun to La Paz. When they were driving and they left that free zone, they needed a tip. So what happened? They were coming home, and they were driving home, and they said, don't take the and then they also took a really bad route that I would never in my life suggest to anybody, a dangerous route. Somebody told them, hey, that's a dangerous route. Take this other route back. And they took the other route back, and they got stopped at a checkpoint by SAT, and they got their van confiscated. And right now, and I always say, when you don't have a tip and you get your vehicle confiscated, pretty much you're not getting it back. And they're already telling them all sorts of things. They got a lawyer, which was the right thing to do, but they're looking at a $30,000 or $40,000. I think it was the last time I thought the lawyer said it was going to be they had to pay a $30,000 fine, and then they weren't going to get their vehicle back. But once your vehicle's taken away, it's hard to get it back. And this is an example. That's an example. I always use the guy during COVID that everybody told him, even YouTubers were saying it's totally legal to run to the border every 180 days. Do it. As a matter of fact, this same YouTuber that I exposed in the last one was telling people to do it. He was even telling people not to even travel without their travel documents. I mean, without their FMM, just to keep a copy, and you're fine with a copy. People were getting deported. People were getting picked up. This guy didn't get let back into the country. And yes, that was one person, the one person that contacted me that they didn't let him back in Belize. That's one person out of 100,000 that were doing it at the time. But I think anybody would agree that you'd hate to be that guy. And if it's 1 in a million or 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000, same thing with my safety videos. Yes, 1 million people drive on that road a day. But the reason why I tell you is so that you know that you're aware. Okay? This individual wasn't aware. He told me, everybody said it was okay. I said, yeah, it was okay, but nobody told you it was up to the discretion of the immigration officer. So why didn't you have a plan B, especially during COVID, that you can't even go back to your home country? And he lost everything. He left everything in his apartment back home thinking he was going to be home the next day or a couple of days. He's going to take a vacation in Belize and come back. So how would you like to lose everything? Nobody. All these YouTubers that tell you, anybody that tells you you're going to be just fine, it's totally legal. There was another YouTuber out of Ajijic. Well, it was one that started the whole thing out of Merida that told people that all they had to do is be retired and they could go to the consulate. And then somebody out of Ajijic was telling people to go to the consulate and ask for the consular general. And what does that make us do? What makes us look like fools, because a bunch of people were going to the consulates and asking for the consular general. And the consular general is like, I don't talk to regular people. I'm the boss of the whole consulate. Unless you have an appointment, you can't talk to me. And those are the things that I want to keep you guys from having to do, making a fool of yourself. I'm almost sure it was very embarrassing for those people that went in and asked for the consular general because the YouTuber told them to. And they were told to get the heck out of the office. There was several incidents where security had to remove people. And that's embarrassing. And not only that, but for all the people that have been trying to lower the financial solvency requirements with the consulates, it's a step backwards. We're not getting forward with trying to lower those requirements. The consulates we're starting to take an attitude that if people are going to come in here and demand residency because some law that some YouTuber told them, they're looking at you like you're a fool. And not only that, but how would you like to be that fool? It's not cool. And yeah, maybe there was 100 people that did that out of thousands of people that apply every day. But those 100 people ended up being embarrassed because some YouTuber told them to go to a consulate. And you know what? I'm not CopyZilla, what they were saying, but whenever something like this happens, I put my CopyZilla hat on. I put my CopyZilla hat on and I say, you know what? I need to expose this. And it's not exposing it because I need, CopyZilla makes money off of doing this. If anybody, you can look up the name CopyZilla and you can see his videos. He makes money off of this. I don't make money off of this. I don't make anything off of this. That's the difference between me and CopyZilla. But if I need to expose somebody, I'm going to. And I apologize if you're fans of some of these channels, and I have no problem with you defending that person or that individual. I've had many people say maybe it was a mistake, and I've even responded, maybe it was. I hope it was. And I have nothing wrong with you being fans of these channels, but to go and make nasty comments just because you like this YouTuber better than another YouTuber, that's not doing the community any good. And yeah, I'm not the YouTube police, and I'm not here to expose every single scam. Many of the stuff that I've done is been because I've received information, or someone brings it to my attention. If someone doesn't bring it to my attention, and I don't know about it, well, then I don't know about it, and I don't actively go out looking for YouTubers giving inaccurate information. Some of these YouTubers, I subscribe to them. I listen to their videos. I'm not looking for something bad, but when I see, hey, that was a good video, but the next video comes out and I'm like, they're promoting something that they shouldn't be. You know what? I think it's okay. It's okay for you to get that information, and it's okay. But you know what? It's your decision to do what you want to do. Okay. And Jack Walsh, I want to bring this comment out, is be very careful, very wary of fintech and DeFi cross payment platforms, especially for overlay attacks. Yes, Jack. And that's one of the things, the fintech companies. And here's the thing about fintech. And I can tell you, when Synapse collapsed, Synapse was the backbone for many of these online banks. I think over 1 million people had lost money, okay, because this was the infrastructure backbone for all of these apps you see. Not all of them, but a whole lot of them, a bunch of them. The one that I'm just about to talk about, they actually, it looks like, I haven't been able to find any relationships to a fintech backbone company, but they supposedly have a relationship with a bank. But what people don't understand is, this is what happened with Synapse, is that people weren't able to get their money back. The money was FDIC insured in the bank, okay? But the banks didn't go bankrupt. Synapse went bankrupt. So what happens is if the bank were to go bankrupt, the people could claim their money through Synapse. Synapse could say, you know what? I have all of these people that you owe money to. And then it would be FDIC insured. But Synapse went bankrupt, and the money stays in the bank and in bankruptcy proceedings to pay off whatever debts they may have. So they're not lying when they say FDIC insured, but it's a half-truth. Because what happens is that FDIC insured means it's insured to the application, not to you. And actually, this application, after it says FDIC insured, your money's safe, there's a little fine print saying exactly what I'm telling you right now. They put it even in fine print, real small letters where you can't see it, and then it's kind of blended into the background. And so these are the things that, when someone tells you, hey, this is a great app, there's nothing wrong with it being, it probably is. They have good intentions. I even think that this app is legit in the sense of what they want to do. But the problem is that these fintech companies, number one, aren't regulated. Number two, the SEC, after all of these bankruptcies and all of these people losing money, is starting to look at them. They may be regulated. They may be shut down pretty soon. I don't know. But these are the things that you need to know so that you can make a decision. And just to save a buck, people were using the dollar app to just save a buck, and there's people that lost a lot of money. There's you go to Trustpilot. There's a guy that lost $60,000 on the dollar app. Okay, so sure, you might say I'm not that stupid. I'll only use $100. But see, if you know what you're getting into, then use it. I'm not telling you not to, but I am telling you what is important. Let's go on. Move to abroad to Mexico. Quick question, and we're getting into the. If you have any other questions about what I said, I'm just going to keep it at that. If you have any questions about the YouTube scam things or why I do what I do, go ahead and type them out. But as always, we get to do the Ask Me Anything Mexico, like I said. So this is the first question. Quick question. Do you have a facilitator? I'm trying to come to Mexico in November to do the RNE program. Move abroad to Mexico. It all depends on where you're going to. I know two good facilitators here in San Miguel de Allende. I know one that's very famous, and she's the go-to for everything. But one facilitator that I'm aware of, he's been able to be, well, Sonia's very successful with the RNE program. And also this other facilitator, the issue that you're going to have if you're going to fly in November is getting like a 7-day permit instead of the 180 automatic 180 days. And this facilitator, what he started doing, and I don't know how he's doing it and what kind of letter it is, but what he's doing is he's writing he gives you a letter or sends you a letter to present to immigration. And he's been pretty successful in getting individuals 7 days. If you want to know, move to Mexico, just email me. I can give you their contact information. I know you're going to say, I don't see your email anywhere on your YouTube channel because I don't want to get spammed. But my email, my main mailbox is info at retiredlifeinmexiconoble.com. This should be remember. It's just my whole retiredlifeinmexiconoble.com, and it's of course the recipient is info. Just email me with, and I can give you San Miguel facilitators. There's also a very good facilitator. I don't know where she works out of, but she runs a group called Getting Residency in Mexico, and then I also know another individual that works in Querétaro. He does a lot of two individuals that work in three that I would recommend in Querétaro. If you want move to Mexico, move abroad to Mexico, if you want me to mention them here, the only thing is, like I said, as far as a facilitator, where exactly do you want to go? Because I don't know the facilitators in a lot of the areas. Some areas, but I can get names from different contacts that I have. But I know a lot of in my area. So either way you want to do it, go for it. You can either ask me here to give you the names and just give me a location. And if I can answer it here, I'll answer it here. Or if not, email me. Jack Walsh, Coinbase has a debit card option that can be used to draw against your crypto. It has proven to be quite robust as for transaction security. Yeah, Jack, that's the other thing that I'm going to talk about. A lot of these fintech companies that are trying to get the expat community, they're giving out these MasterCards. What people don't understand is, for example, what I can make out from the Kobe AI is it's a U.S. debit card or U.S. Credit card. And yes, it's a Visa or a MasterCard. I don't even remember which one it is, but it's a Visa. But the Visa is an American Visa. So there's a lot of things you can't do with it here in Mexico. I don't know if the same thing goes for the Coinbase card. The only thing, Coinbase is one of the major players in the crypto as far as exchange. And I don't know how they stay alive because they've been running at a major loss in the billions the last couple of years. But when they issue these debit cards, even I think Wise, I think Gringos or Us had tried to use the Wise card because they offer a credit card also. And the other thing that you have to realize that, yes, the Visa card will let you spend in Mexican pesos, maybe at the Liverpool or maybe at the local restaurant. But here's the problem. CFE, most of your water companies, CFE will not accept American credit cards. That's why I literally have a Mexican bank account where I use a Mexican debit card and a Mexican credit card to pay my CFE bill. So there's some caveats to these MasterCards that they supposedly now. Debit cards work just as well if you have a Mexican bank account. Debit cards work just as well as Mexican credit cards on paying your utilities. So, Jay Gomez, naming names or channels to be aware of would be greatly appreciated. There are tons of Mexico channels aimed at moving here. Actually, Jay, here's my. I'm gonna kind of, if you can excuse me 1 second, I have to mute because I need to drink of water because of I always tell people my cancer. I don't make as much saliva, but sometimes I need to drink a little swig of water. But bear with me 1 second. I'll tell you my thought on all of this stuff of exposing YouTubers and everything else. And what I've tried to do is I don't mention by name out of respect, in the sense that, look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody. What I do is put out the information of what they're promoting or what they said. And my hope is if you're watching my channel and you see that, hey, they just said I'll use the example. You can get Mexican residency just by showing you're retired. Okay. And then I'm very general saying, hey, there was a YouTuber that said this and it's not true. That way, if you watch the channel and you hear that information, then you'll know, oh, yeah, I remember Ernie said that this is not true. And the reason why I try to do that is I don't want to make this out to be drama. I don't want to make this out to be, like I said, already people think that I'm trying to put other YouTubers down or trying to discredit them so that my channel will be better than their channel. No, I'm not trying to do that. And so I really hold off on giving names. And most people figure out who it is by the time my video's over. But the reason why I don't give out names or YouTube channels is because, number one, everybody's prone to mistakes. And I don't want to ruin somebody's reputation just because they made one mistake or one lapse in judgment. So when I make these videos, this is only about the subject at hand. If it be residency, if it be immigration, if it be using the dollar app, I don't want it to be a personal attack on that person, or I don't want it to be a personal attack on that channel. And that's why I kind of leave the names out, Jay. But what I will do, and what I did do in this last one, is I did call out, and I will say it again, Kuru Paul, because what he did was not right. He was fully aware of what was going on. He promoted this app. I did my videos. I let it go. I mean, to the point, I did call him out when he deleted me from all my stuff and tried to tell people that crypto, you didn't have to report it on an FBAR, and he pulled up the FinCEN regulations but didn't read it correctly and try to mislead people. And when I said, no, that's not what the FinCEN, I worked at FinCEN, I know what the regulations are. And then I actually did in a video, I did kind of call him out and say, hey, look, man, I worked at FinCEN. I know what the deals are. And if you want to respond to me, go ahead. But I don't do that unless it gets to that point, or it got to that point where next paid promotion. And then here's the worst part. I know how much money he's making off of that sponsorship. I don't want to tell people how much money he's making off the sponsorship. It's a lot of money. And maybe to some it's not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money. And he chose, after all of that, and he knows very well, I warned him. And like I said, he deleted me from all, and it's not even about getting him back because he deleted me from all his platforms. But if he deleted me from his platforms when I was making those comments, he was well aware, and he knows who I am. He was well aware that he had made a mistake the first time, and he did it again. That's why I called his name out. And so you guys need to understand, I'm not out to put out, I'll only do it if I really, really need to. And if it's very egregious, yes, I will. So, Michael Huerito, what's your opinion on online banking system or online banks in general in Mexico, Ernie? You know what, Michael? As far as Mexico's concerned, I use an established bank, BBVA. They have the app. We transfer money, no problem. We do everything back and forth. I haven't had any issues with BBVA. Some people have. I know that a lot of people use Banorte, Scotiabank, HSBC. I use BBVA because BBVA has a U.S. affiliated bank. But actually, that's not who I bank with in the United States. But we went with BBVA. As far as online banks, Michael, the thing you have to be careful with, and I'll tell you right now, is how long have they been in business? Okay. I'll give Wise, for example. Wise has been in business for a while. They have thousands. And if you go to Trustpilot and you look up Wise, and yeah, they don't have a 5-star rating. They have a 4 point something, but it's over 1,000 people. I mean, everybody's going to have bad experiences. But Wise has established a track record, like Remitly, XE Currency. Those are transfer services, but they do offer like credit cards and stuff like that. So, Michael, what I would do, let me put this back on. Excuse me, I had the bad habit of doing this all the time, is bringing the comment up and then pulling it back. But that's what my view is. If you're going to use an online bank, make sure it's very established and everybody's using it. The problem with online banks is anybody can put up a website. And that's what the problem is with fintech companies. They put up the website. They basically are the middlemen. Okay. When you deal with BBVA and you get on their app to transfer, you're dealing directly with the bank. On a fintech app, even with the dollar app, that's why people were complaining that it would take a week to get I did a transfer and it took a week. It took 2 weeks because they were relying on a backbone or a separate fintech app or a bank or whatever it was. As a matter of fact, Synapse, they got into a fight with Evolve Bank, which is the one with the data breach. And Evolve Bank held a bunch of funds because Evolve Bank was saying you can't balance. And there's another problem with a lot of these online banks. They have problems with their ledger, dealing with their ledgers. They're not regulated. They're not regulated to keep their ledgers up to date. So sometimes what will happen is the bank will even say, hey, you can't even tell me how much money this person has in their account. I'm not going to release the money until you tell me. And that's what happened with Synapse, actually. So it's pretty decent. And online banking, like with BBVA, and it says, I've heard that they're pretty secure and your phone is like the debit card and there's a blockchain to withdraw from ATMs. I'll tell you what, Michael, like BBVA, because I bank with BBVA, they have a thing where you can withdraw the money without your debit card. Basically, what you do is you go in there and say, withdraw the money, and it gives you a code, and then you punch the code in the ATM. Also, the BBVA app uses tokens. So if you're going to do a money transfer, it makes sure you're who you are and you're on the phone that is owned by you. So those are very good. And Jack Walsh, yes, Coinbase is in the black right now. And no telling how long Coinbase is the custodian for the top EFT now in the service in the U.S. Yes, actually, Jack, they are. And that's what scares me about them because they've been running in the black. So I'm not here. I'm a client, and they've had you know what? And Jack, I'll tell you what about Coinbase. Even though I have had my concerns about them, I have never had any issues. I have owned cryptocurrency myself. I mined it at one time. I actually had miners. I mined the cryptocurrency. So I have used it to cash out my stuff. They seem to be pretty legitimate. I've never had an issue with them. They have a good track record. The only thing that concerns me, and I actually brought this up with the Dollar app, is they're also co-opting the USDC that was used by the Dollar app. And then the company Circle, who also co-ops with Coinbase, was in the red. They were both, and actually Circle almost went belly up. USDC almost became nothing. So anybody that tries to tell you that USDC, it's kind of when you say USDC, everybody thinks it's related to the government. It's not. And Circle took a bailout from BlackRock. So those are the issues that I had, not necessarily with their service, because if you hold crypto, what I would do though, what I do, and I'll tell you what I do, I hold it in my own cold wallet or cold storage wallet. And if I need to cash it out, I move it to Coinbase and I cash it out right away. I don't leave anything in the Coinbase wallet. But actually, Jack, I think there is a Coinbase wallet that's totally separate from their service that you can use. I'm late, but hear about all the XOs in Nuevo Laredo, all shut out, the OXXOs, due to narco violence. Yes, actually, nerd, that is one of the issues. The issue right now is the OXXOs. It's a long story, I guess, and actually, I think they murdered the regional manager there of the OXXOs. I think it all has to do with paying. They call it piso here, taxes to the cartels. And so I think OXXO shut down all the OXXOs in Laredo. I actually did a consult with somebody that's heading down to Merida right now. They're halfway. The last time I heard, they were a quarter of the way down to Merida. And they were asking me if they should go through Laredo, and I told them no. But I haven't had a chance to get that out to everybody. But there's a lot of controversy going on. The problem with Laredo that I've always told people about crossing in Laredo, the big thing about crossing in Laredo is that Laredo's a very volatile place. So yes, 9 times out of 10, nothing's going to happen. But there's been, just like this OXXO thing that comes up, everybody starts going crazy. They've taken down some of the leaders of the Noreste cartel at times. And they go crazy. It's just about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the problem is there's no forecasting when this stuff is going to happen. As a matter of fact, I can even tell you places in Tamaulipas like Reynosa, there's battles going on and there's fights for plazas, but you kind of know where the fight is and you kind of know when you can cross. But in Laredo, it's just from one day to the next. There's shootings all over the street. There's riots on the street because something happened. And then the next day it's fine. That's the biggest problem. And then the problem, I would even say, okay, go to Colombia. But there's even issues on Colombia because it's a desolated road, a lot of robberies. And then there's a spot on Highway 2 where the cops stop everybody, try to get bribes. So it's just, that's the problem with Laredo. And the OXXO situation has been going on for a while, a couple of weeks now that I'm aware of. Move to Mexico. I will be coming to San Miguel. Can I have the contact for the person I will love to do the 7-day route with the ladder, please? Yeah. I'll tell you what, move to Mexico, send me an email. I don't have his name is Ian Clement. And also Sonia Diaz, who's also very famous here in San Miguel. She's been doing the R&E program, and she does have she will coach you on how to get a 7-day. From what I understand, she's also very good. So it's either Sonia Diaz or Ian Clement. Sonia is, she does countless, she's very famous. She has, she's the one that has soniadiaz.mx, I believe, is her website. And actually move abroad. If you want Ian Clement's contact information, I can reach out to him and I have him on Facebook, and I can send him a great personal message to get his WhatsApp number. So just send me an email at info at not at info at Retired Life in Mexico No Bull, and I'll try to get you Ian's contact information. Sonia Diaz is basically Sonia Diaz. Let me see if yeah, SoniaDiazMexico.com. Actually, I'll bring up the website right now. So it's SoniaDiazMexico.com. She's probably one of the best facilitators that we have here in San Miguel de Allende. Bringing up Sonia Diaz, I actually called her out on some information on when the electronic FMMs were coming out, and I still recommend her. Same thing, I got taken off of her Facebook. Her husband runs the Expats in Mexico, one of the Expats in Mexico, the real big one, Expats in Mexico Facebook group. But I didn't take anything personal. She's doing business. That's her business. And if she wants to delete me from her Facebook group, that's fine with me, but I'm going to recommend her because she's one of the best. But I'll tell you what, Sonia is good. The only problem with Sonia moved to Mexico, I keep doing this. I'm sorry. The only problem with Sonia is sometimes she's overwhelmed with clients, and she's not the one that does the letter. Ian Clement is the one that on his Facebook page, he says, oh, look, we wrote a letter, another successful letter, and we got this guy on the R&E program. So you might want to reach out to him to see how he does it. I know Sonia, she just knows a lot about this, so she might tell you, fly into this airport will do it. You know, those are the two people right now that I heard BBVA in Mexico has improved in terms of reducing their commissions costs for debit and credit, specifically for withdrawals. Yeah, actually they have. Their ATMs, though, I'll tell you what, Michael, I get you know how they have the ATM fee? Now, I have a Charles Schwab card, so I take out and I get my my ATM, how would you say it? My ATM fees reimbursed. But they have a fee of 170 for non-BBVA cards of 174 pesos. And the other cards have an ATM, the other banks run like 70 or 80. So BBVA is still a little bit high for ATM. Now, ATM withdrawals with BBVA, if you have a BBVA card, are good. I haven't had no problems with them, but I will tell you that their ATM fee is kind of high if you're using a regular foreign debit card. But I have debit cards that reimburse me for the ATM fees, so I don't worry about it. But other ATMs charge like in the 80s and the 70s. BBVA is still up there as far as using their ATMs. Hey, Bill, great to see you. Long time no talk. Take care of yourself. If you ever see me giving out bad information, please drop me a line. I'm just learning. I never want to give out bad. You know what, Bill? I totally believe you. And I know, Bill, I would reach out to you personally. And actually, Bill, I'm fine. I know that I think maybe because I went offline, you thought there was something wrong with me or I was sick. But I'm fine, Bill. I'm fine. And I definitely, and you know what? That's another thing that I'll tell you guys. If I know these people personally, for example, I know several influencers. As a matter of fact, I told you already that several influencers have reached out to me and asked me, Mexico influencers have asked me what I thought about Kobe AI. And basically my advice has always been hold off until they build a track record. But they've reached out to me and told me, hey, what do you think? And those people, if they put out something wrong or what I feel is, hey, that doesn't sound right, I reach out to them personally. I don't go out and call out that information. And usually those people are the people like Bill, go visit Bill the Geek, Bill Dallas Lewis. He has his great, I think you're in Morelia right now, Bill, if I'm not mistaken. He has a great channel. And people like him, I'm able to talk to them and say, dude, don't do this, or girl, don't do this. It's not right. And then even if they have sometimes I might not be right, and they go, no, 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 the thing has changed and blah blah blah, and they'll explain to me. Actually, I've been able to get some of my best information from other influencers because they may be in the know. I'm not going to call out wrong information unless I verify it. Oh, hey, Lisa, you're late. Well, not a problem. As always, thanks for dropping in, Lisa. I always appreciate it. And thank you for your help. You're a lifesaver. Not a problem. Move to Mexico. Let me see, Carmen. All banks are corrupt. They are mafia controlled. Actually, Carmen, I don't know what to tell you. I could tell you, yeah, I probably agree with you. The only problem is here in Mexico, and I'll tell you Mexico. And actually, there have been bank frauds where employees have stolen money and everything else. But one thing about here in Mexico, the problem is you kind of need a Mexican bank account. If you don't have a Mexican bank account, you need a kind of like a Charles Schwab account to try, which Charles Schwab is an investment firm. They're not, but you could probably say they're corrupt too in a sense because of the interest. I don't agree with banks because I myself have literally deposited a cashier's check, which is good as cash. Oh, we have to wait 7 days before it clears. Yeah, those 7 days are getting interest. So yeah, I can agree with you. But the problem here in Mexico, and even the problem here problem in the United States, is we've become so dependent on electronic payments that unfortunately you kind of got to deal with banks. And the best thing to do is go with the bank that is the least corrupt, per se. I'm not going to defend banks, but I mean, I think, yeah, banks in America are stealing money from U.S. citizens. Mexico will fall. I don't know about, actually, Carmen, Mexico, I will tell you, there have been some banks that have gone under because people are stealing money. There's a lot of bank fraud. You'll find here in Mexico, literally, when I go through my Bancomer app, it has to be the security feature. Sometimes I say here in Mexico, it's harder to pay a bill online than I try to pay my tells. I have several payment methods that I pay Telcel. Sometimes I have to go down to the Telcel office because I can't do it online because of all the security features and everything else. Mexico is using chipped Visa cards before the United States mandated them to. Most of Latin America, because there's a lot of fraud here. There's a lot of bank fraud here. There's a lot of vice presidents or bank managers that take off with money and all sorts of stuff. So the corruption has existed here in Mexico too, but the problem in the United States, and when I say corrupt, what I mean by stealing money and corrupt is they are stealing money, Carmen, because when you make a deposit in a bank or you make a deposit of a cashier's check, or a money order, which is as good as a regular. It's like depositing cash. A cashier's check is a bank check, and a bank check when you go to deposit a bank, or I've had, for example, bank checks for my insurance company, my health insurance, and it's like, oh no, it comes from an insurance company. We have to hold it for 7 days, and they're making interest off that money, and can you call that stealing? Probably. There's always in bank fees, ATM fees. Before you know it, you're paying $50, $20 a month to maintain an account and all sorts of stuff. There's still some banks that have good deals, but I'm not going to disagree with you there, Carmen. Michael, I think the U.S. or hope that they'll implement strict regulations like the EU. Yeah, actually, Michael, the SEC is really looking into this as far as the regulations especially on what do you call it? Circle. I mean, not circle. Especially on fintech companies is coming, or banking regulations are going to come to fintech companies because they're acting like a bank. I mean, they are a bank in a sense, even though they have but the way they get away without being a bank, that away from the banking regulations, is they partner with a platform or a bank to do all the compliance and everything else. But the problem is people are losing their money because these fintech corporations are going down, and these regulations probably are going to come. The EU has very strict regulations. When I talked about the dollar app, how they ran to Mexico from the EU because they were under investigation, that was one of the reasons, because they were lying on their balance sheets to the EU government on the banking regulations. Yeah, Coinbase is in partnership with Circle, but BlackRock came around. BlackRock's a very well-known company, but BlackRock is the one that bailed out Circle, if I'm not mistaken. And when Circle was going under, that's why they are actually now financed by BlackRock. So, yeah, Jack, they have a. That's what I think I was mentioning that Coinbase has. That's what I would do. They have a cold wallet option, and I think it's even an app, if I'm not mistaken. I've never looked at it. I've always just used my own. I have one of those little things that gives a code or whatever. I think I used there's several of them. I use one called KeepKey to leave for my cryptocurrency that I have. I don't have a lot, but I mined it at one time. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for the advice, Ernie. I wonder, since I'm a Mexican citizen, if it's pretty straightforward opening an online banking system account. You should. Actually, Michael, since you're a Mexican citizen, I don't know if you have your RFC yet. And also, the other important thing is the INE. That a lot of people go and they claim their Mexican citizenship, but what happens a lot of times is the problem is they don't have an INE. They might have their what's the other ID? Consular matricular consular. I don't know which one you have, but those are the two things that I would get, and you shouldn't have an issue opening up accounts here in Mexico. Like I said, just be careful with the online ones and the thing about these fintech companies, what they're doing right now is they're kind of advertising. They're trying to cater to the expats that want to bring money over or transfer money over to the U.S. And then they're also, this is one of the things with the dollar app, they were trying to cater to the expats that want to transfer money into their Mexican bank account. And then they're also trying to cater to the Mexicans because there's a lot of remittances here to Mexico. So that want to go to the U.S. and use a credit card and everything else. Stephanie, yes, you use Sonia to obtain temporary residency. Highly recommended. Yes. And actually, Stephanie, I don't know if you met Sonia, but she's out there every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, or she might have people stand in line for you sometimes to get into the immigration line. But from what I understand, she goes herself every day to the immigration office. And I even know that she's so helpful that even friends of mine that didn't even use her were having issues. And she even just says, whoa, what issue are you having? Let me help you. And she'll even help people in the line that might not have their paperwork together. She's a very genuine person. And, don't get me wrong. She owns a business. She's in it for the business. She makes good money. And she's probably one of the highest grossing facilitators here. But there's a reason why. And she, the one time that I called her out, she jumped the gun on some information. And she even changed her website. And I just brought it to everybody's attention. And that upset a lot of people because a lot of people really like her. And I do too. So I will say she's very good. You Banco de Bienestar ATM, and it was sometimes 10 pesos or 0 peso fee, but the machine is broken for 2 years at my location. Yeah, actually, Nerd, The Bienestar is a program, for those of you who don't know. Bienestar is a program that was implemented by, well, it's always existed, but this last president, or the one that's on his way out, and it's probably still going to keep going because it's the same party, is a program where they were trying to help out the poor people by, for example, they are giving out kind of like scholarships to kids that stay in school, also to the older community, kind of like a social security check. And that's the bank and the reason why the ATM fees are so low is that people that are they get this little card, they get it recharged every 2 months, I think. And they get a check for 6,000 pesos or 3,000 pesos a person, and they can use it to buy groceries. It's a Visa card, but it's by the Bank of Bienestar. And Bienestar has ATMs where they can take out cash if they need to use the cash. And that's why the fee is 10 pesos or zero, because no use in giving people 3,000 or 6,000 pesos to take away 100 to take your money out. I know that my in-laws get Bienestar because they're older, and they have the card. And sometimes what they do is they go to Walmart and buy something and then take out money. But that's probably why the ATM. Now, I'm not surprised the ATM machine might be broken down because it is a government program, and maybe they just didn't have the money. Sometimes these government programs run out of money. Yeah, the UK, I'd say, was the worst when it comes to their banking and offshore banking. Yeah, actually, the UK is pretty strict. Actually, I went to the UK when I was in my agency, and we traded. Actually, I went. The reason why I went to the UK was for a money laundering conference. There's a cooperative between a bunch of different countries that gets together every year. Sort of like the G8 summit or whatever, but it's the summit for money laundering, and that was held in the UK. And I actually had to just look at the city of London. Yeah, I had to meet with some of their people that do financial stuff there, and they're very, 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 very thorough. Banorte brought some U.S. banks on the border, so it is easier to cross border bank him. Yeah, and actually, nerd, BBVA has the one thing I always tell people. Oh, okay. One thing I tell people, nerd, as far as like BBVA. If I had a BBVA, the only reason why I bank with another bank in the United States, because I banked with them since I worked for 30 years, and I just don't want to change all my automatic stuff, and I should. But BBVA, when I opened the account here, we went over to the BBVA over there, and they actually do they can do interbank transfers for real super cheap. And they give you the exchange rate and stuff like that. That's why I went with BBVA, but I never went with the U.S. branch. But I do know there's several banks on the border that are Mexican banks that operate across. So they also have interbanking. HSBC also has HSBC is real big worldwide. So when I do tell people, look, get HSBC, BBVA, Banorte. I think if I'm not mistaken, Banorte is part of Citibank. One of them is. Those are the ones that are the big ones that have a worldwide banks. That's what I always tell people to kind of go for. I know a lot of people love Intercam. They're a worldwide bank, but they're kind of not a bank, and I've never even been able to understand what they are. But supposedly it works, and you can even deposit U.S. checks here in Mexico. So I don't know too much about Intercam. Okay, Michael, you have an INE? Oh, you have both, and then you said you have a matricula also. Then you should have no problem. Now, the RFC is kind of important now because everybody's requiring it, even Intercam, because Intercam wasn't for a while, but someone told me that Intercam was requiring an RFC. I think Intercam was one of those that kind of got away with skirting the Mexican banking regulations for a while, and I think they're having to go in line with them. Citimex. I'm sorry, Tom. Citimex is the one that's Citibank, not Banorte. You know what? Citimex. I knew one of them was Citimex when I'm in Mexico because they don't eat your card. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've used them, and also I'll tell you what, Tom. They're one of the ones that has the 80 because there's a Citimex actually downtown in San Miguel, and I use them whenever I do withdrawals from my American debit card. Uh, and they're the ones, not Banorte. It's Citimex. I totally forgot about it. But Citimex is a Citibank. Don't eat your card. It is still visible. Yeah. And in Ireland, one time, the machine ate my card on a long holiday weekend. I was SOL. Hey, Tom. And also, how are you doing, Tom? Great to see you here. Um, yeah, all of those banks are good banks, Michael. All of them are associated with, I'm not sure who Ban Regio and Bank Norte are associated with, but BBVA is a worldwide, well, I know they have them in the United States. Citibank is Citimex. I'm not too much of a fan of Santander. We had to make a payment. Here in Mexico, I'll explain. Sometimes you have to make payments. Like, for example, actually, immigration used to do this. They used to give you a reference number, and they used to tell you, go to the bank with this reference number, deposit into this account, and they give you the account number. And I forgot what it was for in Monterrey that we had to do. And it was at Santander. Or sometimes when you pay for, like, for example, you have a contractor that you're working with, and he'll say, hey, you either do me a money transfer. Well, we don't have a Mexican bank account to do a transfer from my bank account to your account. How do we do it? Oh, just go with cash, and here's my bank account number, and deposit the money, and give me and here's a reference number. And then, so you go into the bank to deposit the money. You can even pay your CFE bill this way. You can pay your CFE or your water bill at the bank or whatever, given this information from the bank that the bank gives you, or they give you. And so we went into Santander and we pulled the number, and an hour later we're like, how come nobody's waiting? And there's people coming in after us. And we had told them what we were waiting for. Oh, well, actually, customers get priority. And we were like, yes, we understand that customers get priority, but we've been waiting here an hour to make a deposit. And it was a really weird system. Whereas when we go into BBVA, it's like first person, first in, first out, kind of thing. And they ask you what you're there to do, and maybe you might have to wait a little bit longer because that teller that handles that is not available, but you get through. But Santander was weird. And I've had issues with trying to take money out of Santander, also with U.S. debit cards, where they just say, sorry, we can't do the transaction. We had a bad taste with Santander. I don't know if anybody else uses Santander. If anybody else uses it and likes it, let me know. So, any other questions? I'm coming up on an hour here, so I always like to try to wrap it up at an hour. Any other questions about Mexico? Any comments you want to make? Let me see. Yeah, Ola Tommy. Yeah, it's unraveling when the whole card disappeared. Yeah, it is. And actually, sometimes it can be the problem with those the ATM machines that eat your cards. Kai, can you recommend an inexpensive but decent SMA hotel or Airbnb? Actually, Kai, San Miguel, I hate to say it, other than the fact that I live here and I love it here. It's a beautiful place. But San Miguel's kind of overrated in a sense. So probably your best bet as far as hotels, number one, it's hard to get one depending on when you're going to be coming, because like in November, it's going to be Dia de los Muertos. What I would do is I would shoot for what we did when we first came down here was booking.com, and we found a little place in the central, and then it was very affordable, but it was in a colonial house on what used to be a colonial house. It was clean. It was very nice, but a lot of noise because everybody was up and down. It was during Dia de los Muertos. And I would suggest an Airbnb. Go on to Airbnb. Just kind of look at the Airbnbs. The only thing that I would suggest, Kai, is like, for example, there's some Airbnb. Actually, there's Airbnbs in my neighborhood. But the problem with my neighborhood is and it sounds really easy to get to the central. Only 4 kilometers from the central. Yeah, but what they don't tell you is I live off of a main road going to Querétaro, so there's super amount of traffic, and the traffic is so dense that like you don't want to walk to the central. So what I would do is usually the Airbnb will give you a location, and look for the location that is closest to the central, if not in the central, maybe in the San Antonio area. It may cost you a little bit more than on the outskirts, but now Uber does come out here now, but then you're going to find yourself having to take an Uber, then having to take an Uber back. You want something closer to the central. Los Frailes, San Antonio. Los Frailes is kind of out, but it's still within walk. You could walk. Anything within walking distance on the Airbnb. And that would be my best advice. As far as hotels, there's some really luxury hotels here. Marriott is building, but they are not done yet. I know the Waldorf is building here, I believe, or I want to say it's the Ritz. I don't remember which one it is, but it's a high-end hotel. Most of the hotels downtown, like the Real or Live Aqua, all of those hotels are very expensive. You're paying for, basically for location. But I would stick with Airbnbs and something in the central. They're pretty good with. You can get some pretty good rates. And if you're going to be planning to come here, just if it says 3 miles or 4 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers, it's not like other places where you can just, I'm just going to walk. I mean, even from my neighborhood to get to the front gate is like a 2 kilometer walk. So yeah, my front gate may be, I think we're 5 kilometers from, or 4 kilometers from the shopping center, and about 5 kilometers from it's a long walk. So you want to make sure it's somewhere close. And usually Airbnb will give you on the map more or less where it is. But I would stick with the Airbnbs because those are your more affordable solutions, Kai. Hope that answered your question. Not gonna lie. Yes, actually, it can be, Michael. Actually, it can be, but also at the same time, if you do your right homework and everything else, it can be less expensive. I can tell you, there's one of the locations that we love to go. 2 locations that we love to go. It's super expensive. I mean, it's like going to a 5-star restaurant, but they are 5-star restaurants. I mean, in our book, and one of them, and one of them is right next to the chapel. We only go there. It's a treat for us to go there. The other place we go that's very super expensive is the Rosewood Hotel, which is very famous. That's where they start the Dia de los Muertos parade and everything else. But we only go there but it's super expensive. And you have a couple of drinks and you 1 or 2 drinks and an appetizer, and you've already spent almost 2,000 pesos. But we'll only go there twice a year. So it can be very, very expensive. And we're talking just appetizers and 1 or 2 drinks. Or what I mean by 1 or 2 drinks is 1 for me and 1 for my wife. So, but it's the most beautiful view in San Miguel. So, Tom, I stopped into a Santander Spanish owned here in the U.S. to see if I possibly move to Spain, if I still bank with them, but not possible. Totally different entity going to continue with Citimex. Yeah, Tom, actually, that's the other thing you have to be careful with. Citimex is a Citibank, but you got to remember they are under different regulations depending which country you're going to. But I do know, like I said, BBVA was like, if you have a BBVA account here and you have a but you got to remember BBVA, the branch that I was at, it was on the border. So I don't know how HSBC or Citibank are with, their foreign entities. Food there is pretty pricey. Yeah, actually, Michael, it is. But I'll give you an example. We went out to an hacienda, not an hacienda, kind of a ranch, all you could eat buffet, and it was all home cooked meat. It was super home cooked. I mean, we're not talking about this. They had a lady making the tortillas on a wood burning stove or whatever, and they were burning wood. I mean, they were cooking what they call it, hecho en leña. They were doing it on leña, and the food was fantastic, and it was all you could eat for 400 pesos. Compared to the 2,000 pesos we'd pay at the two other 5-star restaurants. So you can get affordable things. Actually, we even went to the vineyard here, and they had this buffet that was like, yes, it was pricey, but it was just like the food was incredible. It was a lot of food. As a matter of fact, it was started at 10, but you could stay till 5, and they had breakfast and lunch, so you could literally eat there for all you could eat. The thing with San Miguel is you really just got to kind of experiment and go to the thing. You have to go to the restaurants and see which ones are. But there, you can go to some pretty affordable place. San Miguel makes Tijuana much affordable. I was able to go to all you can eat barbecue in Tijuana for $19 per person. Yeah, and you can do that here too, Michael, but it's just a little bit, it's not as easy to do it here. But there are a lot of places, and actually there's one of our favorite hamburger places is just a hamburger stand. So it all depends. And yeah, it makes sense. You pay for the food and the experience. Yes. And actually the food that we get at one of the 5-star restaurants we go to is gourmet food. And I think the Rosewood, that hotel is a high-end hotel. I mean, people pay close to $1,000 a night. I don't know what the room rates are, but I think it's in the thousands, depending which rooms you get. It's a very famous hotel, so you can understand that drinking 2 drinks and having appetizers is going to cost you a lot of money, being that it's a high-end hotel. It's like walking into the Ritz-Carlton and having dinner at the restaurant there. You can't expect to have affordable food, but the Rosewood is also famous for one of the most beautiful views of San Miguel de Allende. Some of the most awesome pictures that I've ever taken were in San Miguel. Thank you. Cuídate todo el mundo. Gracias, Ernie. Muy buenas noches. Y todo el mundo. Hasta la bye. We'll see you later, Tom. And I'm going to sign off now unless anybody has anything else. Anybody going once, going twice. Thanks for joining me. I like to try to keep it at as close to 1 hour as I can. Had a really great crowd tonight. Let me look at my calendar real quick, because I believe we're going to be leaving, not next weekend. We're going to have another live stream next weekend. But the following weekend, I have to go back to Monterrey the day before Labor Day. So the following weekend and possibly the following weekend, because I'm going to be traveling to Mérida, we might not have a live stream, but I'm back in the saddle again. Like I said, the only thing that keeps me from doing a video or doing live streams or surprises is what I've got going on in my personal life. I'll try to get the surprise live streams going again. I know that, I only have a couple of people drop in, but that's kind of cool. And you guys hey, Henry, you just, I don't know if you just got here, Henry, but I'm getting ready to sign off. But glad you dropped in, Henry. And thank you guys for everything. You guys have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. All of you, thank you for joining me. You guys are what makes my community great. That's why I love this community so much. We're a small community. Yes, I have 20-something thousand subscribers, but you got to remember, people subscribe and then I'm not going to move to Mexico. I have subscriptions to a lot of YouTube channels that I don't watch videos anymore. I mean, not talking about Mexico, but other YouTube channels. But we have a great Ah, CMT, you ready? Oh, and actually, CMT, I have something to tell you. I think I know who you were talking. You had mentioned another a shady YouTuber, but I think you were talking about the one out of Ajijic, and I was talking about one out of Merida. I was kind of giving the one out of Merida props for changing, and I was trying to give him props because he has changed his tone. But I think you were talking about one out of Ajijic. And yes, he is. I've called him out, actually. He's the one that put out, actually, he did put out information about how you can, he's the one that actually suggested that you go to the consulate and ask for the consular general and don't even get an appointment. Just walk into the consulate. And then he actually gave a PDF where you could download, and you were supposed to show the consulate officer, the consular general, the law. And supposedly you're going to get your residency. And I'm going to tell you what, it didn't work for nobody. And yes, he does make a lot of money. He makes a lot of money off of trying to show people around and stuff. So I just wanted to mention that to you, CMT. When we were talking and I said, I think I know who you're talking about, it was another one out of Merida, but I think you were, it dawned on me afterwards. Dying to retire. Dying to retire podcast, as always, came in late, but we'll rewatch the whole podcast. Have a good one. You too, Dying to retire. Like I said, I have these every week. Sometimes I'll announce when I'm not going to have one. But let me see here. That would never work for a meeting with Congen. So thanks, guys, for joining me. I try to have these every week. I try to keep the subject to my last video. If I don't have a subject, then we can just get it together. I really love this community. We chat. We have fun. I make my little spiel at the beginning. And as far as I usually say what's going on, but same old. I'm just getting back into the groove again of YouTube because I had to take that personal vacation for personal reasons. And like I said, I only do this YouTube thing I only do it for if my time presents itself. I can be a little bit not as consistent, but I try to stay consistent when it comes to important information. I'm working on this other platform. Actually, Nerd, if you're still here, I'm working on the Laredo situation. But right now, I always tell people, just don't go through Laredo. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another. And even when things are calm, I tell people not to go through Laredo. That's always been my safety. And we might have another safety one, a safety, what do you call it? Nerd. Yeah, we might have another safety live stream talking about safety, because that's something that's very important no matter where you end up crossing. So thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. I know we always go over the hour, but I tried to keep it to an hour. For those that missed it, I know that watching an hour, me talking, especially when other people aren't talking or I'm not interacting with I'm interacting with you through the chat, but I know it can be kind of like boring in a sense, or I might be boring sometimes, but that's why I try to keep it at a short as possible. Usually I think these are good for an hour, maybe 2 hours if we're really getting into a good conversation here. But I try to keep it at about an hour so that the people who missed it can watch it, per se. Thank you. And as I always say, until next time, stay safe. And most importantly, stay informed.